quick overview of the syllabus. It'll take a couple of minutes to get through it. So yes, this is Bio 169. This is a fully asynchronous class. So we will not have any scheduled meeting times that you actually have to show up either virtually or in person at a specific time. You can have my basic instructor information, my name, my email address. Everything pretty much occurs through Teams. So any type of meetings that you have to do, we can do all those through Teams. But if you do want to have an in-person meeting, we can schedule some time. I have my office hours listed here, so you can see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, as well as Thursday I have office hours. On Thursdays, I'm also on North Campus in the STEM Center, so this is a free tutoring center. There are times all throughout the week. There are other anatomy and physiology tutors that you can reach out to for support throughout the week, or like I said, you can just contact me during mine if you'd like to. Usually I will say, give me 24 hours. One of my biggest pet peeves is when students email me multiple times within 24 hours. Usually if they're going to do it, it's going to be within a couple of hours. I get multiple emails, or I'll get a Teams message and an email, and sometimes a Blackboard message as well. And those get very frustrating as they come a lot. So please give me 24 hours during the work week, and then a little bit more on the weekends. If it's not an emergency, my rule I always tell people, I see your email. I'm going to get it. I'm going to check my email regularly. So if you don't hear a response from me within, especially over the weekend, within 24 hours, then it's not that big of an emergency. It's okay. We'll deal with it Monday. I'm not going to let you just hang out and stress for a couple of days just because I don't want to send an email. So if you don't hear back from me right away, it's okay. Take a breath. We'll move on. Email and Microsoft Teams are the best way to contact me. Here's just some basic stuff. So the credit hours, the last day to withdraw with a W is the 16th, June 16th. So be mindful of that. That's your 60% point of the class. Basic prerequisites in the course book. You do have to have the class textbook. If you use the 168 textbook, it's the exact same one. So it's Integrative Approach to Anatomy and Physiology. We are using the 4th edition. So if it's been a little bit since you've taken 168, you may have the 3rd edition. Generally, they're the same. The required book is the 4th edition. If you get the 3rd edition, if that's what you have physically, then that'll probably work just fine. As far as Connect goes, we do use the Connect platform on McGraw-Hill. That one will require you to have the 4th edition. So if you already have the 3rd edition physical, then you probably only need to get the 3rd edition, the electronic version of the 4th edition that you'll have to have on Connect will probably be fine for you. So really all I'm saying is if you have the 3rd edition textbook, that will be fine. You probably don't need to purchase the 4th edition physical copy, because when you sign up to Connect, it will automatically include an electronic copy of the 4th edition. Lab manual is provided. We'll get to that on Blackboard. We're using proctoring software, Proctorio or Respondus, for the quizzes and for the exams and assessments. So make sure you're comfortable using those. Make sure you know how to use that, and you don't short yourself, time, not realizing, oh, I need to have the software downloaded and then learn how to use it. Go ahead and do that ahead of time. Basic internet requirements. This is a fully online course, so you have to have a computer or device that will allow you to operate fully. Sometimes Chromebooks don't work with all the software that you have to use. Hopefully at this point, they're getting a little bit better, but be aware that you need to be able to have a device that is compatible for everything. Reliable internet access is also important. You'll see later that, oh, my internet wasn't working is not a reason for not being able to turn in a test or a practical or a quiz. You have access to Wake Tech's campuses. You can go and sit in your car, or go to a library and sit in the library, or make an appointment at the testing center if you want to use those resources to do your assessments. If you are just home and you say, oh, my internet went out, couldn't take the test, that's not going to be an excusable reason. If it's, there's a big storm and the power goes out, that's different. But just know that, oh, my internet was bad, or, somebody else was downloading something so I couldn't get to it because I have, we're doing live lectures, or we're doing recorded lectures and you have to download things. Yeah, those are not valid excuses. You have access to campus resources if you need something with better internet. We do also offer academic financial supports. We offer transportation, assistance with food. Wake Tech has a food pantry. If you are insecure in any of those resources, please reach out to either them directly, or you can contact me and I can try to help you put you in contact with those. We know school is already stressful enough and that it can take away from work and other places that might provide you with other resources. So we want to try and bridge that gap for you. So if you do need something, even if you're like, oh, there's no way they could help me with that, just try reaching out, because if Wake Tech can't, then possibly they can connect you with someone in the community that can help you. Attendance. So even though this is asynchronous, there are required attendance assignments. So multiple times throughout the week, you will have attendance assignments that are going to be due. We'll get into those later. There is also the course entry quiz that you have to complete before you can start. This is going to be due on the 18th. Our class starts on the 16th. So you only have a couple of days to get this course entry quiz in. If you do not have it taken, by the 18th, you will be withdrawn from this class. Okay, so make sure you get that in. You're going to be doing at least 2 attendance assignments per week. As I said, usually my attendance assignments are going to be the lecture and lab quizzes or any major assessments that are that week. So there's multiple chances for you to do attendance assignments. It doesn't mean that you only have to do 2 and then the rest don't matter. No, the reason that I make the attendance assignments the quizzes is because you're most likely to do those. You'll probably forget about the worksheets or forget about something else, but hopefully you don't forget about the quizzes, and so I just make that the attendance assignment. This also just allows you to have 4 chances to get 2 attendance points, 2 attendance assignments. So attendance usually isn't a big deal. However, if you are absent for more than 14 consecutive calendar days, that is not class days, that is calendar days. If you do not have anything submitted for more than 14 days, you will be withdrawn from the class. I will contact you well before that happens, and I will contact you a couple of times up to the point. And then if you are withdrawn, and there was a mistake, we can reinstate you, but it requires communication. Let's see, keep going. This is basic course information. We're going to be covering all the body systems. So even though this is an 8-week course, we do cover all of the information that you would in a 16-week class, both lecture and lab. That is a lot of work. It is a lot of chapters. Every week it's going to be at least 2 chapters and 2 labs. Sometimes you have exams and lab practicals thrown in there as well. 8 weeks goes very quickly. We'll be finished by July 10th is the last day. That's when your final will be due, July 10th. So yeah, we're going to be covering all of the same stuff you would in a 16-week class and twice the pace. So buckle in. Here's basic course goals, course learning objectives. I'll get into some more specific learning objective document. I'll show you that. Online life science department policies. Make sure you're familiar with these. Online expectations for how you're supposed to behave. The FERPA statement, this just says, since we're not allowed to discuss grades over phone and email, this gives us permission to talk about your grades with you. So if you email me and say, hey, I got a 76 on my exam, I'd love to go over it and talk about why, I can email you and respond that, yes, you did get that, and let's talk about it. It does not mean that I'm going to be able to talk about your grades to your parents or your cousins or your grandparents or whoever it may be. That is still private for you. This just gives me and you the permission to talk about them. Netiquette expectations. So again, you should operate and comport yourself just like if you were on campus, whether you're online or not. Assessments, exams, and lab practicals will be completed in a proctored environment. So there will be, like I said, Respondus or Proctorio that we'll use to proctor your assessments. If you are not comfortable using those, you can make an appointment with the Learning Center, with the Testing Center at any of the campuses. Those fill up, so you know when your test dates are. We can go ahead and get those scheduled, but they usually have to be at least 2 weeks before the scheduled date. You have to give them that kind of notice. So you can't just email me the week of. Your exams are usually start on Tuesdays. You can't email me Monday and say, oh, I really need to get into a testing center. It probably won't happen. You need to be on top of that ahead of time. But all of them will be proctored, so you will have to have that proctoring software. I'm really, really big on academic integrity. If I find that you are cheating, and it happens every semester, somebody watching this video right now will probably try to plagiarize their answers, search for them, do something like that. Um, Usually I can catch them. It's pretty obvious when people are cheating in these kind of introductory courses. And I will fail you. I will give you a 0 for the assignment. I have failed people in classes before. I will report you to the academic integrity office. And if it's a multiple offense, if it's an egregious enough offense, you can be removed from your program or removed from the school completely. So don't push that button. Don't try to go there. Even online, you cannot cheat. And yeah, like I said, it's usually pretty easy to find out when people are cheating. This is an introductory course. People tend to Google answers a lot of the times, and when you Google things, you get a large response, a big response. You've already paid for your textbook. All the information, all the answers you need are in that textbook. So use that. Don't try to go through Google if you have to cheat. And you shouldn't cheat anyway, right? Here are some course-specific policies. So these I definitely recommend reading because these are going to be ones that I have written for this class just to help you stay on track with stuff. It's assuming in an 8-week course that you're putting in 30 to 40 hours a week for this class, and the workload reflects that. So this is an intense class. You should not be taking any other classes during this period. You shouldn't, if you have work, if you have family stuff, I am assuming that you have organized your life in a way that you can devote the time necessary for this class. I understand that emergencies come up, that things do happen, but I won't give you any leeway for saying, oh, I had this thing come up, this thing happened. That's not going to kind of sway me very much. This class is going to be a very, very time-demanding, energy, resource-demanding class, and you need to have your life ready for that. Makeup exams are only administered for college-approved reasons. If you can't make the exams or practicals, contact me before so that we can make arrangements for that. Typically, I don't allow you to actually make up the exam. I just let the final stand in place of that grade. So if you miss it, you won't get a chance to retake it. You just let your final exam stand in place of that exam grade. The final is cumulative and comprehensive. It's worth 15% of your total grade, which isn't, it's a significant amount. I mean, it's 15% of your final grade. So it can push you in either direction. If you're on the borderline, it will take you up, it will take you down. Because it is a cumulative final exam, I tend to let those grades stand. If your final exam takes you from a B to a C, that means that you probably did not know the full material well enough. That's just how it goes. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully, you can go into the final without being on the edge like that. But if you are, just know that it can take you up as well. Just as much as it could bring you down, it could push you into the other one. You're responsible for any material. So this is it's an online class, so you can kind of access the material when you want to. STEM Center and ILC are free resources for you. There are appointments all throughout the day, the evenings, and on weekends. All meetings will be done via audio video chat. Unless you really want to meet in person, you can contact me for that. Grammar and editing spell check software are not to be used for any quizzes or tests. This constitutes plagiarism and will result in an academic integrity violation. Don't use Grammarly or anything like that for writing your short answer or essay questions. Give me 24 hours to respond to you, please. Any work is your original work from this semester. So if you've taken this class before, if you've done the labs before or something like that, it's expected that you are doing them fresh this semester as well. You're not just resubmitting old work. Okay, this is again something about me just telling you not to cheat, or if you are going to cheat, look in your textbook. Typically what happens is if on a quiz or a test, if you give me a verbatim answer from the textbook, right? I kind of call that like the Hermione Granger response. Like you just tell me exactly what is in the textbook. I'll probably give you a 0 for that question because while yes, that answer may be correct, that is the textbook's answer. I want to know your answer. To really actually understand this stuff, you have to be able to explain it in your own way. So if on a quiz you give me the exact answer from the textbook, you'll probably get a 0 for that question. However, if you have been using outside resources from other websites and you give me their verbatim response, I'll probably fail you for the whole assessment just because I don't know, did you just Google and search that one question or did you Google and search the entire quiz, the entire test? So use your textbooks as much as you can. Use other resources to help supplement, to help aid you in getting a bigger picture, but make sure you're actually putting the stuff in your words and you're not copying things from other sources. You are able to review your quizzes after the due date, but if you want to go over your exams, you have to schedule time to meet with me so I can share it with you. You can't just review your exam on your own. We meet in 30-minute sessions. I always say I make it very harmless. I'm not going to be judging. I'm not going to be critical at all of you and your answers, your responses. I totally understand how hard this class is and how much material there is. So I will never berate you or make you feel worse after we review your exams. I will also not take away points. If we are reviewing your exam and I say, oh, I was being really lenient, maybe I shouldn't have given you that many points, I'm not going to take them away. What I will do is give you more points. If I notice that oh, that answer, I was a little too critical of that. Yeah, you should have gotten 1 or 2 more extra points. I'll give you points back. So that's something to remember when we review exams. You'll also see the questions again. The questions from the quizzes make up the questions on the exams. The questions on the exams will make up your final exam. So everything comes back. Lecture videos are going to be long. Some of them are going to be a couple of hours. So do not try to save this until the last minute. The way the course is structured, you won't be able to do that. And take advantage of all opportunities. You have 3 attempts on your worksheets, and those are worth a lot. They're collectively worth the same or more than 1 exam. We'll go through the grading stuff. You get 2 attempts for every quiz, whether that is lecture or lab. Usually people that do best in this class are the ones that have used all of those attempts. So make sure you're doing that. Make sure you're using all of the attempts, even if you don't think that you're going to do well on the second one. The highest grade is all that counts anyway, so just trying to get through it, it will let you see more questions, it will let you be more prepared. And then I like to provide this. This is just a simple timeline of how I would use and structure my week. So your week is going to open Monday at 12 a.m. Every week opens like that. Take the time to read announcements. There's always task lists. I try to provide you multiple ways to be able to look at what you have to do this week, because everybody likes to do it a little bit differently. So take some time that first day to organize your week, see what it looks like and what's coming ahead. Maybe go through any summary videos on YouTube for those chapters that you're covering this week before you jump right into our lectures. Then Monday through Thursday, this is when you want to spend the bulk of your week studying, taking notes, doing your worksheets, really putting in the effort and going through your work. Something to note about this class for this semester is that there will be live lectures on Teams or maybe Twitch. I'm not sure what I'm going to use yet. That you can attend virtually if you want to. So while I'm lecturing, it's you can see here the times. So Mondays through Wednesdays from 11 to 12:15, I'll be doing a virtual lecture. You can hop onto Teams or Twitch or whatever it is and follow along with me, take live notes, and ask me questions. On the labs will be right after that. So Monday and Tuesdays from 12:30 to 2, that's when I'll do the lab lectures. Once those have been completed and processed, I'll upload them. They're usually, it only takes a couple of hours, just however long it takes for YouTube or whatever to work. And I'll post links for you in Blackboard and in Teams for you to find those lectures. So you can either attend them live, with me virtually and watch them there. You can watch them later on your own as you're going throughout your study week. And you can watch them multiple times. You can go back over them again and again. Your lecture and lab pages are going to be due Thursdays at midnight. So go ahead and get that into your brain. Thursday at midnight, homework is due for lecture and for lab. Something that's sneaky that I'm sure most of you will not appreciate, you have to watch the lab videos. You have to watch the lab videos to figure out what pages to post. So your lab pages usually have about 10 to 15 in them, and there's a lot of questions, a lot of things. It's nowhere in the class or in our stuff, the actual specific pages. If you want to find out those pages, you have to watch the lab videos and go through them. That's the best way I've found to make sure people actually watch them. Otherwise, they just do the lab pages, Google the answers, and submit that. I will also say when I do the lab videos, I will give you the answer to the lab pages. I will tell you exactly what I want you to post and what I want to see. That's a really quick way for me to know that you aren't watching the videos and you're probably cheating, because a lot of times people will just they'll Google the answers, and once they find the lab pages that they're supposed to do, they'll Google the answers and they'll submit it, and they'll get no credit because you didn't answer it how I wanted you to. So watch the lab videos. I'll tell you exactly what pages and exactly what to put, and you'll get 100 on it. Not difficult. In an 8-week class, you should be putting in about 2 to 5 hours a day. Studying every day. So depending on how strong your background is with this information, you may not need quite as much. But if you're still kind of struggling with 168 material, getting into 169, you don't know that much about the heart or the blood or digestive system maybe, you're going to be on this higher end of the scale. Yeah. And then the end of the week, Friday through Sunday, this is when you want to start reviewing things, going back through your notes, reinforcing some of those tougher concepts, going back through the learning objectives, making sure you're on track to have covered everything. And then you start taking your quizzes. I see it all the time that, by Monday at 5 p.m., people have already taken some of their quizzes, already done quiz attempts. And that's just ridiculous. You don't need to be doing that. Wait until towards the end of the week, not the last minute. The due date isn't the due it date. But wait until the end of the week to start doing those quizzes. You get 2 attempts, so save time for that. All right, grading scale. Here is the basic grading scale, the methods of grading. So we don't do plus minus in this department. Your lecture counts for 75%, lab is 25%. Please note, even if you've taken it this class before, you still have to do the lab again. Here's how I break it down specifically. So lecture, you have participation is 5%, quizzes are 15%, your worksheets are 10%, exams are 30%, and final exam is 15%. So your worksheets and assignments are 10%, your exams are 30% total, but there's 3 of them. So that's 10%. So your worksheets and your exams, your worksheets total count the same as 1 exam does. So if you can stay in the 80s and 90s for these, then you can get an A or a B on basically a test. Okay, and then with the quizzes, there are 14 of them. As you'll see, we dropped the lowest 2. Getting ahead of myself. In lab, you have those lab pages you'll have to do, you have quizzes, and you have a lab practical. I try to keep lab very straightforward. It is mostly about identification. There are a couple of systems where there's some processy things that we have to do, but mostly lab is about identifying structures. There will be another video that I show you how to use the other resources for how to get into lab stuff. Here are just more specific points about each of these assessments and how your grading can be broken down. So I do offer extra credit. There are worksheets for every chapter and lecture that you can submit on the relevant exam. Each worksheet is worth 5 points. You can submit 2 to get 10 points. Yeah. Quizzes, you get 2 attempts. The highest grade will count for each quiz. And at the and overall, the lowest 2 quiz grades are dropped. Yeah. That doesn't mean within the attempt, but overall. So let's say, hopefully that makes sense. I don't want to try and explain it and get even more confusing. Worksheets, lab pages, participation. So read through this, make sure you understand kind of the specifics with each of these. I'm not going to go into it in detail. But essentially, you can submit your worksheets late. You just get a 5% deduction per day. But it is important to note that all 3 of these, worksheets, lab pages, and participation, make up 20% of your total grade. That is more than your final exam. Okay, so that's why I tell people that if your final exam brings you down from a B to a C or a C to a D, then that was your grade. Okay, because you have a huge percentage of your grade that comes from stuff that is not very high pressure, that you get multiple attempts on, and that you're going to, honestly, for the lab pages, be given the answers to. Okay? Go through all that. With the participation, this is the only thing that's tricky. It's going to be tracked on Teams, and that's due on Tuesdays. So you have Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays are your due dates for things. Tuesdays, it's going to be on Teams. You just have to post something. You have to post a question from the current or previous week, maybe something you got wrong on your test or your quiz. Maybe it's something that you just don't understand, a concept or a process or something that you don't understand from the chapters we're going through. Maybe you made a diagram or a study outline for that week, for that chapter that you wanted to share with everybody. You may also respond, right? So if somebody asks a question, you might respond to someone's question. Really, I'm trying to just get you to share resources, work with each other, so that way you aren't just out there by yourself. The one thing you can't do is post Quizlets or Chegs. It has to be your own work. Okay, it has to be your own work. Flashcards are the kind of most minimal level of studying, right? That's something you have to understand. Flashcards are fine if you're just trying to memorize basic vocabulary. If you're trying to really learn and understand concepts, flashcards are not going to help you with that. But to learn the concept, you have to know the basic vocab. I'm not going to accept Quizlets and Checks because it's way too easy to just download someone's, put it up as your own, and say, "Oh yeah, I made this work." Not worth it. Okay, it's not a valuable source for me. You can't post something that someone else has already shared, nor can you post videos every week. I'm going to be looking for this to be meaningful. If it's not meaningful, I'll just reach out to you privately and say, hey, try posting these things, try looking at this stuff to make your engagement better. You'll be in smaller groups too. It's not going to be the entire class in one group. I'll have you broken up into smaller pods of 4 to 6 or 7 people. Okay, exams and practicals. Using Proctored software, like I said. The big thing with my assessments is that they're open over 2 days, from 8 a.m. on day 1 until 5 p.m. on day 2. Do not let this trip you up. You are responsible for paying attention to the schedule, and I will not let you take the exam late or the practical late because you think it goes until midnight on the second day. It ends at 5 p.m. on the second day. This is to make sure that if there are any difficulties, it can be resolved before the workday is closed. So if you want to take the exam at 3 a.m. on that second day, because usually the exams open at 8 a.m. on Tuesday until 5 p.m. on Wednesday. If you want to take the exam at 3 a.m. on Wednesday morning, you can do that. Because if there's an issue, I can still respond to you, say, hey, here's how you can resolve it, let's fix it. Cool, your exam's still due at 5 p.m. Okay? If there's issues, contact me immediately. I will be monitoring my email and my even more diligently over those exam period times. So make sure you reach out to me immediately. If you've answered over 80% of the written questions before getting kicked out, and as long as it's saved those, I'll grade what you've done and let that count. I'll just kind of adjust your points out of just what you've been able to do. If you've only done the multiple choice or less than 80% of the written questions, then you have to start the exam over. This also applies if there is not, if it did not save them. So sometimes it does happen where you are taking an exam and it does not save your questions. Pay attention to that. If you notice that it is just repeatedly not saving your questions, go ahead and email me. This is why it's also nice to sometimes schedule appointments with the testing center so you can just have someone there to respond live with. They'll also usually have my telephone number so they can contact me on my cell phone. I cannot provide that to you. If the issue is big enough that it can't be resolved before the end of the day, then your final exam will count in place of the missed exam. Okay? You can review college proof reasons for missing exam. Bad Wi-Fi is not sufficient. Here's our course schedule. I have it broken up into the weeks, the topic in the chapter, the homework and stuff you have to do for that week, and then the assessments. And anything starred is your attendance. Okay? So it's broken up into our different 8 weeks, your last date of withdrawal. You can see that it has the lecture chapters and the labs that we're covering. It has any homework you have to do. So this week 1, you're going to have to do the course entry quiz, your FERPA release, the 2 worksheets for each chapter, submit the pages for each lab, as well as your participation. This first week, this first Tuesday, which is the 17th, so tomorrow when you're watching this on Monday, you do have to just hop on Teams and say hi to your group, right? For your assessments for the week 1, you have your lecture quizzes and your lab quizzes. These are all due Sunday at midnight. Okay, the quizzes for lecture and lab are always Sunday at midnight. Your first exam is week 3. Apologies, week 3. Again, you can see it's 5:31, so this is Tuesday the 31st until Wednesday the 1st, 8 a.m. on the 31st until 5 p.m. on the 1st. And it covers chapters 17 through 20. You also have your lab practical. Your first lab practical is that same week 3. Okay. As we go through, you can, again, just see the different exam dates. They're going to be bold, and lab practical dates will be bolded. Your final exam is the 8th through the 10th. That is actually a weekend. That is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I believe. So you get one extra day for your final exam. And then grades, they are due on the 12th. So I will be grading very, very quickly on the 11th and 12th to get grades in. That's why nothing is accepted after midnight on the 10th. Yeah. After that, it's pretty much just standard course policies for our division that you can read through, as well as contacts there at the very end. Departmental contacts that you may need. All right. Make sure you take time to read back through the syllabus and the schedule, get yourself comfortable and familiar with the policies and with what's coming up before you go and watch the other videos.